got out of debt, paid off over 20 mobile loans, and built financial freedom. And these are those stories that you never want to share, but over time, as you go through something, as you go through some situations, it teaches you lessons. And it I talk about finance and money. It just makes perfect sense to come and share the story with someone who uh, to learn some lessons, because as they say, you will never live long enough to learn by all your mistakes. So this is a personal story. And let's start with chapter 1, how it all started. And I want to take you back to the roots. I i had a job, a very I was employed by the government by the time that these things are happening, permanent and pensionable, as they say. And in Kenya, when you get a stable government job, people respect that. People value you. Your family is very proud of you. Your neighbors notice you, and there's this pressure, silent but heavy, to just to look part of something, be part of it, part of something. So I did what many employed people do, and I took a loan and bought a car. Now, on the surface, that sounds like progress, right? Um, Someone employed, a permanent job, pensionable job, and they have a car. That looks like someone who is moving forward in life. But this is what nobody tells you when when you're taking that loan, when you're sitting in the loan office and signing the paper. They don't tell you what the loan will do to your life every single month. And so that anytime your salary comes in, and before you could do anything with your salary, over 70 or 80% was already gone straight to the loan repayment. And I'm talking about 70%. So think about that for a second. And I want you to do your math. If you're earning 50,000, 35,000 is gone before you even have a look at it. If you're earning 100,000, 70,000 is gone before you pay rent, before you buy food, before school fees, before anything. And so you are left with 30%, remaining 30% every single month. And because that was not enough, I started borrowing. Now, because I had committed money to the bank, where else could I borrow? And in those times, they that is when mobile loans was a thing. That is when mobile loans were erupting, and there were so many of them. And so I started borrowing from mobile loans just to bridge the month, just to get to the next salary. And I could borrow from one lender, then another, and slowly, without realizing, I had so many loans from mobile lending apps, and I could count to 20 lenders, not one, not two, not three, up to 20. And I want you to understand what that felt like. It wasn't dramatic fast, it crept in quietly, because each loan felt like a solution, but every solution was creating a bigger problem underneath. I remember my story. I was employed, I had a car, and I looked fine from the outside, but inside I was drowning, and the worst was still coming. So stay with me, because in the next section, chapter 2, part 2, I'm going to show you the exact mistakes that I was making, and I promise you that at least one of them will feel uncomfortably familiar to you. So let's move to chapter 2, the money mistakes. What was I doing to put myself in those mistakes? And I don't tell you this story to embarrass myself. As a matter of fact, in my book, I'm an author, I'm a self published author. So in my book, After the Last Bell, if you haven't read it and you want a copy, this is the teacher's blueprint to monetize their skills. redesign their careers, and thrive beyond the classroom. It's available. Get in touch with me, and will have it. So in this book, I've shared this bit of the story in detail, and I've broken down each and everything. So I don't tell you this story to embarrass myself. I tell you because these mistakes are not unique to me. I see them every day. I see them with people that I know. I see them with people who comment on the videos that I create. So let's go through those mistakes one by one. Mistake number one: confusing a liability for an asset. When I bought that car, in my mind, I was buying an asset. And that's the word that we use, asset. It sounds powerful, it sounds responsible. Even without fully understanding the meaning. But this is the truth that nobody taught me in school, that an asset puts money in your pocket and a liability takes money out of your pocket. And in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki says exactly that people confuse assets with liabilities. So you keep thinking that a car is an asset, like a house is an asset, but think of it in terms of money. Something puts money in your pocket, that's an asset. Something else takes money away from your pocket, that is a liability. And I can tell you for a fact that when you have a car, that car, it was taking money from me every single month. Number one, the loan repayment. Number two, the fuel. Number three, insurance. Number four, maintenance. Number five, every single month it was eating. It was like a baby. It was eating. And I couldn't even, the time that it was very hard for me to fuel the car. And there were days that the car sat outside and I didn't have money to fuel the car. I owned the car and I couldn't drive the car. That is the definition of a liability. I had borrowed money to buy something that was slowly suffocating me. And I want you to I want to ask you something right now, and I want you to be very honest with yourself. Don't answer me because we are not having a one-on-one conversation. Is there something in your life right now that you can call an asset? It's actually draining you every single month. Think about a car, a TV, um, a TV on credit, a phone loan. Think about it, because the moment I understood the difference between an asset and a liability, every single thing changed. But I still had more lessons to learn, and to learn them the hard way. Mistake number two: I was entirely depending on one source of income. And this problem cuts across so many employed people. The fact that you have a job and you have a salary, people rely on that one source of income. My salary felt secure. It came every month, same date, same amount. And that regularity, that consistency made me feel safe. It made me feel protected. But when it comes to finance, security is not the same as freedom. Especially when 70% of your salary is committed, you are not secure. You are trapped inside a predictable prison. And the moment something goes wrong, and something will always go wrong, you have nothing left to fall back on. So I had no buffer, I had no side income, I had no plan B, neither I had no plan C. One salary, 20 plus mobile loans, and zero options. And I remember sitting at the end of one particular month, salary had come, loans had been deducted, and rent was due, and I had almost nothing left. I sat there and I thought, now I've been working this hard for this long, and I cannot afford to get the luxury things that I want in life. And that thought broke something in me, because nobody who works as hard as uh, people who are employed, waking up very early in the morning and sacrificing, should like you should at least have the things that you want in life. But the single source of income stream was not giving me that. And so I tell you what I did. Before I tell you what I did about it, let's look at mistake number three: So the mistake that I did, mistake number three, the belief that mobile loans were helping me. The first time I borrowed from the first mobile lender, it felt like a lifeline. Like you're getting money so that it helps you to sort out some things. So because mobile money is very fast, you apply very fast, you get it very fast, no guarantees, no what, no embarrassment of, you see, no paperwork. So just few taps on your phone and you have your money. And that convenience felt like a blessing, but convenience always has a price. And I didn't read the finer print on the price because those loans came with interest rates that compounded very, very fast. And remember, these were times when those mobile loans were not being regulated per se as it is now, because you borrow when you borrow 5,000, you can end up paying maybe 10,000, or you can end up paying 9,000. They were not regulated, especially if you missed on the payment. And because my salary was not enough, I started borrowing from one lender to repay another lender so that I can borrow again. And this is was typically the process: borrow from app A to pay app B, then borrow from app C to pay back app A, and then D, E, F, which is all the way up to over 20 mobile apps. And I was not solving a debt problem, I was building a debt machine. And the machine was growing faster than my salary could ever grow. And until the day came, and I remember this like it was yesterday, when I opened every single of those apps, and all of them said the same thing, that of course you have to repay before you pay. And it reached a time that I could not borrow anymore because I kept getting rejection. And most of you, some of you have been in that situation. You have been borrowing from an application, and so when you get money, when you get paid, you pay the loan that you have so that you can get a bigger loan. And it reaches a time, the money that you have after paying in one particular loan app, you are told that you are not eligible to borrow, and so it puts you in a very awkward situation. So it reached a time that all the money that I had been locked into one single app, and I could not borrow to repay those others. So it puts you between a rock and a hard place. You don't have money, and all the sources that you used to think that you can always run to, you cannot get money from that point. And I want to pause here because what happened next was the darkest financial moment of the entire story that I'm sharing. And I almost didn't include this in the video, but I think you need to hear the story. So this takes us to chapter 3, the rock bottom. And because my money was locked in those accounts, not my money, but it basically belonged to them, it reached a time that I couldn't pay rent. I want you to understand that this was not a missed payment. Not that uh, I delayed to go and pick money from the bank and pay. I did not have money to pay the rent. And I could explain, and you see, you can't explain that to your landlord or whatever the agent, that because to them they want money, and this was a complete inability to pay. The money was simply not there because I was uh, um, tied into these endless loans. And my landlord didn't want to hear that story. And he did what most landlords do when you can't pay your rent. He locked the house. And as I stood outside of the house, as she was locking, it was a she, something broke inside me. Re- understand the shame and the panic and the silence inside your head when reality hits hard. Remember, I was employed. I was employed, and I had a permanent job, permanent, uh, pensionable. And someone who is um this our term I'm looking for, someone who is well respected in the society. And that was my lowest point. Not not because at that time I felt I know I couldn't pay, but it was beyond that. And I remember standing there thinking one thought, not a plan, no solution, just one raw, honest thought that something had to change because I cannot survive another month like this. And that moment, as painful as it was almost the most important moment of my life. There are those times that you get to your lowest point, and the moment you hit rock bottom, they say that the moment you hit rock bottom, you can't go deeper than that because it's already the rock bottom. And that was the first time I told myself the truth that I was not doing well financially and my financial life was broken. And no any other person had broken that. I had broken that myself, not the lenders, not my salary, not the economy as people say. I was there because of my choices. I was there because of my ignorance. I was there because I could say of my because of my ego. And if I had to do something, but fixing that situation was going to cost me more than I had expected. It was going to cost me my time. It was going to cost me my freedom. It was going to cost me endless nights, and I had to give up a couple of things. I had to give up sleep. I had to give up comfort to rebuild from that particular moment. And the sacrifice that I did is what I want to show you next in chapter 4. So chapter 4, I call it sacrifice. So recovery didn't start with a plan. It started with a decision. And many a times in life, we have got plans in place. You have a plan to do something, you've got a plan to do something, but unless you execute, it will always continue to be that way, a plan. So mine started with a decision, and the first decision was the hardest one that I've ever made. I had to part away with my car, so I had to sell my car. Now, I want you to sit with that for a moment because it wasn't just selling a car. For those who have ever owned a car, there's this attachment that you have with your first car. There's this emotional attachment that you have with your first car. It's a deep emotional, it's a deep attachment. That car represented something to me. And just like any other person, like in this country and all over, you know this that a car a car means that you have made it in life. People see you drive past them and they think that person is doing well. People see you giving them a lift and they say, "This is the life that I want." You are you are the SI unit of success, especially if you've come from a family that you are the first person to own the car. So selling that car meant admitting publicly, visibly, that I had made a mistake. It meant that people would ask me questions. It meant that the status was gone. It meant I had to walk or take a matatu past people who had seen me drive. It meant that I had to answer people because people will keep asking, "Oh, nani, gari umeacha wapi?" And that was not an easy decision. So that is at that time it wasn't. Right now I feel like it wasn't a big deal, but at that particular time it was such a deal. So I made a decision that day that changed my financial philosophy permanently, and I chose freedom over appearance. And with that, the money from the car, I because now I learned a lesson, I didn't want to make another mistake of potentially buying another car again because I had already learned. So I made a resolution to channel that money into now an asset. And so I diverted that money from a liability into an asset. And for this purposes of this video, I will not go into details of what I did. So that was my first real financial decision. But selling the car didn't clear 20 loans because, as I've said, the money that I got from the car had to go and do something else. So clearing mobile loans required something entirely different. So using my knowledge, I'm a I teach math, so I'm so good in teaching math. So using the knowledge that I have, I started tutoring mathematics, and not in a fancy center, not with a website, not with a brand. I literally made physical posters. I made posters and put on trees in residential places, and I went door to door, and and I taught. And I want to be very honest with you about what that season of my life looked like, because it's easy to say that I started a side hustle and made it sound simple. It would sound simple, but I would say that it was not simple. I would I would finish my work at maybe 4 or 5. You're already exhausted. When you finish work, you're already exhausted. Then I would go to someone else's house to teach their children, to teach mathematics until 8 p.m., until 9 p.m., until 10 p.m., until late night. And I didn't have weekends because I didn't have weekends to rest. Weekends were working days. I sacrificed evenings, I sacrificed weekends, I sacrificed comfort. There were nights that I came home so tired and you could barely eat because you're very tired. But I knew that every extra shilling that I got, that I earned, I could throw to a loan and it could help me reduce that loan. And just alongside tutoring, I discovered a platform known as Fiverr. Fiverr Fiverr is an online marketplace where people sell their services. When you are good at whatever you do, you open an account and you sell your services. So I started creating financial literacy curriculum virtually, and I could write educational content for clients in different countries. And that work could be done, like I could use the whole night to develop those curriculums and sell them. So I could write at night, I could write on weekends, I could write during any free time that I had, and that started generating additional income. So I started with one extra stream of income, then two, then slowly three, and slowly I started seeing light. Not a very bright light, but I started repaying the small loans that I had with the money that I got. But here is what I want you to understand about that season. The sacrifice was not just financial, it was personal. I gave up the version of me that cared about looking successful, and I replaced it with a version that was actually building something real. And to many people who comment on the videos that we write, and many people who ask me for financial advice, and people are so obsessed with looking successful. And at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. You actually have to be on the ground and you have to be building something that is real, because you can clear your debt and still be broke in your thinking. So that shift, the internal shift that happened, was worth more than any loan repayment. So I didn't just want to clear the debt, I wanted to understand money, and I wanted to understand it permanently. I wanted to understand money lessons. And that understanding, those hard lessons, that's exactly what I'm going to share with you right now. So we go to chapter number 5, and I want us to talk about money lessons. So, and everything I'm about to share, I didn't learn from a single book. I learned it from yes, I've read so many books about finance. I'm going to share some with you, but I learned those money lessons from experience. I learned them from pain, from locked doors, from empty M-Pesa messages, from tutoring until 10 p.m. just to survive. So when I give you these lessons, I want you to receive them not as theory, but as scars that became wisdom. That to receive them as lessons that had an impact in my life. Lesson number one: we are never taught this, and you come to discover this in real life. Understand the difference between an asset and a liability, and understand that deeply. I already told you about the car, but I want to go deeper. The reason I bought a car was because in my mind it had value. It did, yes, but value and cash flow are two different things. An asset doesn't just have value. An asset generates value, and not just once, but consistently for a very long period of time. So without eating your salary every single month. Robert Kiyosaki says that in his book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I know many of you have heard about that book, but when it comes to application, that is where we draw the line. But I want to say it in a way that connects to our reality here. We are taught to work for money, to get a salary, to buy things that look like success, be it a car, be it a TV, be it a phone on credit. But wealthy people, and truly wealthy people, they use money to buy things that make more money. And that is the game. And until you understand that, you still keep running on a treadmill that looks like progress but leads you nowhere. So ask yourself today, what do you own that's working for you while you sleep? What have you created in your life that is working for you while you sleep? If the answer is nothing, then that is your starting point. Lesson number two: one income stream is not a plan, it's a risky. And this applies to many employed people. I thought that my salary was security, but a salary is someone else's decision about your worth. It's not your decision, and that decision can change any single moment. If all your money comes from one place, then one problem in that one place destroys everything. And the after the loan season, and after the season that I went through, it it gave me the ability to say that, to say and understand something, that alone, not alone, but a single source of income is never security. And that's why I started a number of side hustles, just to get different uh, sources of income. And it didn't start I didn't start with, like, at the moment I've got a couple of them. We built a couple of extra sources of income. It didn't start with two or three, with four. It started with one, because the goal is not to replace your income overnight. The goal is to never again be one problem away from a locked door. Lesson number three: convenience is the most expensive thing that you'll ever buy. Mobile loans will always feel like help. I know, because they helped me until they did not. The design of those apps is intentional. Fast approval, no paperwork, money in seconds. It feels empowering. But empowerment that costs 30% interest per month is not empowerment, it's a cage. I borrowed across plenty platforms because one felt manageable, but together they were a weight that I couldn't carry anymore. And here is my rule now, and I want you to write this down. If you cannot afford something with your own money, ask yourself why. And if the answer is my income is not enough, then the solution is to increase your income and not to borrow. I'll repeat that. If you cannot afford something with your own money without borrowing, ask yourself why. And if the answer is that my income is not enough, the solution is to increase your income and not to borrow. Debt should only be used for things that generate more money and generate more than that particular thing cost. Think about it. A business loan that returns profit, acceptable. A mobile loan to survive the month, that is a signal that you are doing something that is not right. So a signal that your financial structure needs rebuilding. Lesson number 4: pay yourself first before any other thing. And this one has changed my relationship with money completely. And I have a book here that I'll share with you. It has changed my life completely. And because for years, I paid everyone else first. You pay your bank, you pay your bank, you pay the loan, you pay the landlord, you pay the supermarket, you pay the fuel, you pay the cleaner who cleans your house, you pay any other person apart from you. And whatever is left, if at all it will be left, that now becomes yours. And in most cases, nothing is ever left for you. So start with whatever you can. It can be 10%, 15%, 5%, or even 2%. Pay yourself first. Lesson number 5: invest in yourself relentlessly, invest in yourself intentionally. And investing in yourself doesn't, it to invest is to put money, but it's not just about money. I'm not talking about knowledge. Acquire a set of knowledge, acquire skills, acquire necessary connections. Your greatest asset is not your salary, it's not your plot of land, it's not your savings, it's what you know and what you can do with what you know. In my journey to becoming financial, to acquiring financial security and being debt free and having financial freedom, I've had to read books. I've had to invest in courses, and just I want to take you through some of the books that I've read. For example, The Psychology of Money, a book by Morgan Housel. Timeless Lessons on Wealth, Greed, and Happiness is a book that I highly recommend. Book number 2, The Millionaire Fast Lane, Crack the Code to Wealth and Live Rich for Life. And some of these books, they go beyond money. They go to mindset. They go to how you think. They go to reprogramming your mindset. So those are 2. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Just books about mindset. These are books that will change your mindset. They'll change your perception on how you see money, on how you perceive wealth, on how you grow. A Million Dollar Habits by Brian Tracy, another very good book that I highly recommend. Another one, The Millionaire Mind, Thomas J. What success factors made people wealthy in one generation? What part did luck and school's grade play? How did they find courage to make um, to take financial risks that they took? Another book, Deep Work. How do you concentrate in an environment of disruption? Atomic Habits. Tiny changes and remarkable results. So there are so many books or materials that will change your mindset about money. So invest in yourself, and this can be through books, through courses, through knowledge. Acquire knowledge, but then don't just stop at acquiring knowledge. Put that knowledge into use. So let's look at chapter 6, the system. Lessons without a system are just inspiration, and inspiration without action fades by tomorrow very early in the morning. So I want to give you the actual system that I used, a step by step, because this is what turned my situation from hopeless to manageable. And this is the debt elimination framework that I used to clear my loans. Step 1: list every single debt that you have. Mobile loans, bank loans, chama loans, family debts, list all of them. And most people avoid this because seeing the full numbers is very terrifying. We call this the ostrich effect. Do it anyway. You cannot fight an enemy that you refuse to look at. Step number 2: organize those debts from smallest to largest. You can as well organize them from largest to smallest. But I chose to start with smallest to largest. Why? Because paying off a loan completely, even a smaller one, gives you momentum. Step number three, pay minimum on everything else. So anytime you have got some extra money, throw it on a particular loan. Step number four, do not borrow again while you are eliminating debt. If you find yourself in a deep hole, stop digging. Step number five, protect the process with a budget. So I had to create a simple budget for my money and to assign every shilling a job, or assign every dollar a job, as it said. There's a quote that I'm looking for, but I can't remember it. So mine looked like this: rent, food, transport, loan repayment, and savings. And so after 3 years, three long, exhausting, disciplined years, I'd made significant step. And I want to be honest with you, because some videos make this sound faster and easier than it is, but it took me 3 solid years. But those 3 years, they passed anyway. So time is always going to pass, whether you plan something or you don't. So the question is, where will you be in 3 years if you start today? And where will you be if you don't start today? So chapter 7, the last one. When did I realize that I was free from loans, free from the debt? Now, there was no dramatic moment when I became free. No celebration, no big announcement. It was a quiet day, just like any other day. But it reaches a point in your financial life that you don't have those the rush to pay the loans. No repayment reminders, no overdue messages, just uh, silence, quiet time. And I felt something that I had not felt in years: peace. Not happiness, not excitement, but just a peace of mind. The kind of peace that comes when you're no longer running from something. I was not repaying for mobile loans. I was not repaying for any other loans that I had borrowed. I had a budget that I was following, and I started making savings slowly, slowly, slowly. I wasn't rich, but I was free. And I want you to understand something about financial freedom, because I think we have the wrong picture. Freedom doesn't look like a big house, a big car, a new car, or a holiday abroad, or flashy outfits. Freedom looks like waking up and not dreading the end of the month. Freedom looks like your phone ringing and you're not afraid of its lender. Or freedom looks like making a decision based on what you want, not what you owe. This is what I was building towards, and that is what I want for you to achieve. But if you're drowning in mobile loans right now, I want you to hear me clearly. And there's a way out, but it will cost you comfort. It will cost you appearance. It will cost you time. It it did cost me my car. It did cost me my weekends. It did cost me my early mornings and late nights, evenings, and it did cost me 3 years of grinding when everyone else was resting, when people were sleeping, when people were going for holidays. I was grinding, and I will do every single day of it over and over again, because the version of me that stands here today, the version of me that talks to you about money and multiple streams of income, that talks about systems around money, that version of me was worth every sacrifice, and you are worth that one too. So start today. It might not be perfect, and it wouldn't be perfect, and it will not be easy, but write down your debts. Pick the smallest. Find an extra skill that you can monetize. Build one extra stream of income. Then start working on another one, and give yourself time, because freedom is slow, but it compounds over time. If this that marks the end of this video, it's I thought I should share my story. And so if this video helped you to think something, share it with someone, and just let people learn that mm, people can go through money problems, people can go through money challenges, but come out again, and come out of them stronger. So, because someone in your circle right now is standing outside a locked door, and they don't know yet that there's a way out. So be the person who shows them that it's doable. So that's what I wanted to share with you. It's been scrappy here and there, but I hope that you get the lesson, and I hope that you it it makes an impact in your life. So that's it for today, and I guess I'll be seeing you in